the experiences that they've had getting to those roles, and I guess some questions around what GCSEs did they do, or what types of A-levels did they do. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves, and in that introduction, effectively talk about yourself for about 3 minutes. So I can kind of see who's on the top of the screen. So Miriam, you're the next person to me, so I'm going to let you go first. Miriam, over to you.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mariam Elatidoy. I work at the Financial Conduct Authority. You may have seen our organization logo or name when you've seen any financial products or anything related to your bank or financial services. I work as the graduate program and summer internships lead there. So the graduate program is basically looking after all the graduates that we bring in, looking after the operations and day-to-day management of their program, and then doing something very similar for their summer internships as well. Very recently, we designed a program called the Black Futures Program, which is aimed at helping young Black men and women get into financial services. How did I get here? So I did my undergraduate degree in occupational therapy. Then I did a master's in organizational psychology, deciding that the NHS wasn't really for me and I wanted to do something a bit more corporate. So yeah, came down this route, and I've been doing it for the past 2 years. Something I really like about my job is the fact that it's very it has a nature of problem solving. So every day is entirely different. I could be working on something regarding rotations on one day. I could be working on a query with a line manager the next. And yeah, that's my role. Should I add something else? I think there was one more thing. Something exciting that I've done as part of my role. So I did mention at the very beginning of this that I run a Black Futures program. I think that's probably been the most exciting thing for me, being able to design something based on need, and obviously being a Black woman myself, and then being able to deliver and roll that out across the organization. So I think that's probably been the highlight of my role so far.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to come to you next. Is it Hera? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Hera.
Hera, I'm going to come to you next.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Hera Ali, and I am an author, I'm a writer, I'm a career coach. Until recently, I didn't really own the title of being an activist, but I sign petitions, I run campaigns, I speak and write about about issues that are important to me. So I think I'm going to proudly own the title of being an activist as well. I specialize in women and ethnic minority leadership. My book is right here. It's called Her Way to the Top, A Guide to Smashing the Glass Ceiling. And I'm also writing my second book, which is called Her Allies. And that book is not for women, that book is for men and for boys. And it has a lot of strategies about what men and boys can do in order to support gender equality. So somebody mentioned A-level, Jeffrey had mentioned A-level and O-level subjects. In O-levels, I had science, I had chemistry, biophysics, which I didn't like. I'm sorry to confess this. I took science because I wanted to be a dentist. My family wanted me to be a dentist. I wanted to be a civil servant. I wanted to take the civil service examination back in my country. But then, in A-levels, I had world history and English literature. So I remember there were 17 books in world history and there were 11 books in English literature, and it was a lot. But I really enjoyed those subjects, and I'm really glad I took those subjects. And then I did my MBA in human resources, and I think I didn't plan to be in HR. I didn't plan to be a people's person or a career coach or work in women leadership space. But I guess because I started working in HR, and I've worked in different countries. I started my career back in Pakistan, and then I moved to Dubai, and then I moved to London. So I have a career spanning over 15 years in different countries, and I just love interacting with people, supporting people. What I enjoy most about my job is the fact that I'm able to reach out to a lot of people through my articles. I love writing. I recently wrote, humble brag, I recently wrote an International Women's Day article which had 19,000 views in Forbes, and it was all about choosing to challenge yourself and how you can choose to challenge yourself. I write a lot. I love writing, and I think the highlight of my career is when people reach out to me from different parts of the world and they say that they enjoyed my writing, or when I'm delivering a talk, they tell me how they were inspired. So I think that is really, really in itself very rewarding for me. I've done lots of exciting things. And I think the most exciting thing for me was that in 2019, as part of one of my projects, I organized and facilitated a conference in Maldives, and my whole family went. And I think I'd like to share the proud moment. And that moment is that, you know, when you enter the room, it said, "Welcome Hira Ali and family." And that was my big moment, because usually when I go to hotels, it usually says, you know, it's my husband or my father's name, and they welcome him. But this time my family was welcomed using my name. So that was my great moment. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Hira. That's awesome to hear. And obviously the Burke and all the various things that you've been up to, fantastic. So I'm going to continue moving down my line. I'm going to come to you, Samantha, and then finally Star. So Samantha, over to you.
Hi everyone, and thanks very much, Jeffrey. So yeah, I'm Sammy. I'm 26 and I'm in central London, so really nice to meet all of you. Right now, I'm working for a company called Shell, which lots of you might know from the kind of like petrol station logos you see as you drive along the motorways. And fun fact about Shell, so there are actually more Shell stations in the world than there are McDonald's. So I think that shows you how big a company it is. But really importantly, we don't just sell petrol. So in my day job, I actually look at creating marketing material. So things like PowerPoints, brochures, videos. And I specifically do that to help sell products like renewable energy. So that might be electricity supply, solar panels, things like that, to other really big companies. So people like Amazon and Microsoft. And we're really trying to help these companies and ourselves to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and run more sustainably. And this is super important, you know, if we're going to try and fix things like global warming. Last year, I was really lucky. I got to work on creating the first electric vehicle charging station for Shell. So this is one where there would be no petrol or diesel, and we'd just have lots of electric vehicle charging instead. And I found that super fun because I never imagined I'd get to work with a team of architects and designers to design a site that could kind of like change the future way that we all work and use vehicles and things. So that was really, really exciting. Before working at Shell, I actually studied chemical engineering. So loads of problem solving, lots of maths. And I guess like some of the others, I kind of studied sciences in A-levels and GCSEs before that. And it kept my options really broad, but since I graduated, I really haven't done anything technical. I know earlier there was some talk about kind of careers and all of those things, and my own kind of reflections is that I think it's really, really tricky to kind of work out what you want to do. But I've never seen it as one big decision that I have to, you know exactly what I want right from day one. For me, it's more about each year picking and choosing the things that I'm most enjoying, working a bit more on them, and getting it to where I want to be. And I think for me, I've always known that I really want to have a job where I feel like I can make a difference on the world. You know, even if that's a small difference, that's something that really inspires me and keeps me going. But it's also, if I'm really honest, been really important to me to know I have a secure job and a salary and that I can support myself. Yeah, so I think that's a little bit about me. Really nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Okay, and now I'm going to go over to Star.
Thank you. It's great to be here. So I'll just give a brief overview. So I'm currently in HR. It wasn't where I wanted to be because I did basically juggled two. So I was a dancer and I was in HR. So I did two. I did my 9 to 5 working day job and I danced on the side, performed in different theatres, and it was mainly street dance. And I never actually ended up wanting to end up anywhere. So I suffer with dyslexia. So being in HR, doing payroll, being a HR coordinator is crazy, but we're creative and we do it how we need to. So it's like with dance, I studied that in college. So I got my degree and stuff in college with dance and drama and singing. Even I've got the deepest voice. I can't sing, but I passed it. So we move. So I did that. And then I just wanted to help people, encourage people and give them different ways of potentially learning. So the way I learn is if you teach someone new things in dance, I'll break it down right to the very bottom. Same as we learn in HR, you break it down. So each dance count you break it down. And that's how you learn. That's how I learn. And that's how I teach people, and actually inspired me to make my own mum's dance group. And then when I explain to people in HR, it's like, well, you can manage. It's really easy. So you don't have to necessarily, you can plan where you want to go, but you necessarily won't end up there. But when I ask certain people and say, oh, where was you when you was younger? Someone says, oh, what did you want to be when you grew up? To be honest, mine was a DJ. And I am not none of them. So, and I ended up in HR, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And I think one of the questions on the slides in the briefing I wanted to share is, when you do your GCSEs or you do any exams and you're stressed, I find dance and music through lyrics just to free your style. So even if you don't dance, or you like dancing, or you like rapping or singing or writing or drawing, free your style, start freeing it, and then the stress will start to relieve, or it will start to come to you and things will start to get better. And that's how I'm currently working for Compass Pathways now, which is a mental health wellbeing company, and they specialize in mental health. I do different programs on their website. We're based in London. We have America, Germany, Sweden. So again, our office is out there. I only started in January, so it's new for me, but I was in retail before. But yeah, and that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. So for all the schools listening, I don't know if you have any questions, but obviously please feel free to type them into the chat window. So you've all kind of made reference to your GCSEs and your A levels, and I just wanted to ask you all, like, how did you pick the subjects you chose? Like, was it influenced by your family? Was it influenced by your friends? Was it influenced by the fact that you were really good at it? It'd be great to kind of hear a little bit about your choices. So I'm just going to open it up to any of you, whoever wants to jump in first, and it'd be great to hear from all of you. And obviously, again, if there's any questions from the schools, please do type them into the chat window.
I'm happy to kick off with this one. So when it came to choosing A levels, I did it based on the career that I wanted for myself. So when I was doing my A levels at that time, I thought that I was going to go into medicine. So I chose A levels that were related to that. But I also chose things that I also really enjoyed. So I really enjoyed English. I also really enjoyed psychology. So I made sure that I had that balance between picking something that would cater to me in terms of the career that I aspire to have, but also balancing that with things that I enjoy. Studying isn't easy. You know, you have to apply yourself really intensely for an extended period of time. So you want to make sure that you make that studying enjoyable for yourself. I think the world that we live in, to a degree, you have to be realistic, especially if your career is in academia or is, you know, something that you can do at university. But I think it's also really important that you choose things that you enjoy, that studying won't feel as pressurizing. It will feel like something that you can actually enjoy and really have fun with. So I think if I was to give a tip, I think about the career that you are aspiring to have, but also remember that you are a human being with needs, and you want to make sure that you are doing something that you enjoy, and most importantly, something that's fun. I think there's so much emphasis on career and uni and exams and this, but make sure that you are having fun. Do things that will be enjoyable for you. I think that's so important. So yeah, that's how I chose my A levels.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else they want to add to that question?
So I will add to that. I chose English literature and world history. I think that was purely thanks to my grandfather, who said to me, you know, I had O levels, I had science, chemistry, biophysics, and you know, when I was going to do my master's, I would probably do, you know, economics and commerce and all those subjects. So my grandfather told me, he said, well, you know what, economics and accounts, and this is something which you will anyway start from scratch. You will be doing this when you will be doing your bachelor's and master's, but you will never get an opportunity to study subjects like English literature and world history again, unless of course you choose to, you know, do a specialization in these subjects, which I wasn't planning to. So I said, okay, well, I'll take these subjects. And I think it was the greatest decision of my life, because I did have economics and I did have Urdu, which is like my mother tongue. But I think taking English literature and history, I think like Miriam said, it was something I enjoyed. It wasn't really in line with my career, but I think taught me a lot in terms of analytical skills and looking at things from different perspectives and being able to debate and presenting my viewpoint. And yes, when I took exams, I used to be very stressed. Fun fact, not so fun fact actually, I do a lot of talks on imposter syndrome. Students do suffer from imposter syndrome. And a very quick tip that I do for, to overcome imposter syndrome, am I good enough? Am I going to fail? What's going to happen in exams tomorrow? What if I don't pass? Is that I do a brain flip. I close my eyes, I take a deep breath, I count to 3, and as soon as I have a negative thought entering my mind, I flip the thought with a positive one, because negativity is contagious, and if you allow it to linger on for too long, it's going to permeate every cell of your body. So flip the thought with a positive thought, and that's my exam tip.
Love it. Samantha, Star, could you guys speak to your GCSEs? How did you pick those?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of background. I think when you pick your GCSEs, you get to pick quite a few different things, right? So you've got a bit more choice there. And I really agree with the others. Doing things that are going to keep you interested, I think, is really important, that you enjoy. Even now at work, we obviously focus lots on feedback, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not. But something we always get told is we don't tell like an athlete, an 100-meter sprinter, to focus on doing the high jump, right? We don't turn around and say, oh, you're good at that, do something different. We say keep focusing on your strengths. And I think making sure that you think about what are you strong at and you keep going with that is really important for your happiness. I also think that maybe you've got some ideas of careers you might like, and doing a bit of research there is great, because it might help you realize, oh, I need biology or maths at A-level, and therefore you kind of need to do them at GCSE, but you might not know, and I think that's fine too. And you can always pick some pretty broad options, some core subjects to help you kind of cover your bases and think about it in that sense. I don't know, Star, if you have any other views, obviously.
I completely agree with all of you. You must do something really fun or something you enjoy, otherwise it's not going to work, and you'll find yourself unhappy. And when you're unhappy, you start to fall, and you need to start realizing that, yep, this is not working for me, so try something else, or try something fun and you enjoy it. With mine, I noticed that as I was growing up, back in the day, we didn't know it was dyslexia or anything like that. So I couldn't do anything theory-wise. So I had to do practical. So I noticed that I was like a loud person. I was more like open arm, open gestures, and I would like be fun of the class sort of thing. So I was like, okay, dance, drama, I can do this. So I was like, it helped me better to study. And my mum was always like, again, go with what you want. You're happy in that, just go with it. So I went with it, and I ended up in dance, drama, and I did sociology as well. And in textiles, I like to make things. Even now, just any like odd shirt in the house, I'll just rip it and just make it. So anything practical that I can get hold of, I'll start doing it. But then obviously you have to start learning to take your English and maths. But I agree with everyone. It's just you have to do something fun.
I would obviously definitely agree with that. So today we're trying to empower our attendees to think about their careers, about how they manage their mental well-being, and I guess at the moment it's International Women's Month, and the theme has been choose to challenge. So I'm going to ask you all, what are you choosing to challenge? And that's my question. So again, open to you all. I'm kind of not trying to put anybody on the spot, so I'll give you a few seconds to think. I think for me, in the choose to challenge space, I am as a man, I'm looking at how I can choose to challenge my male peers and get them to be more inclusive and embracive of people from different identities and spaces. And obviously, I'm hosting events like this. But yes, it'd be great to hear from you guys.
I'm happy to kick off if that's good, Jeffrey.
Yep, that's great.
So for me, something I see lots of at work is perhaps women not always believing in themselves as having equal capabilities. So I think for me, that's the big thing I'd like to challenge. I work with lots of people. I have lots of different teams. Sometimes people won't do things like go for a promotion because they just don't believe in themselves. And I think if we can all kind of give each other a pat on the back and say, I saw that job, I saw that opportunity, I saw that society at school perhaps, or club or something, and I think you'd be great doing that. Or maybe it's like a position at school, like a class captain or a sports captain. Like give your friends a pat on the back and try and encourage them to do it. So I think it makes a world of difference. So that's mine personally.
Brilliant, thank you.
For me, I'm choosing to challenge my internal language, so how I speak to myself. Fear of failure isn't something that is just locked into school or exams. Throughout your entire career, you're going to be faced with things that you are responsible for, things that you have never done before, things that don't necessarily have an instruction booklet that come with them. And you'll always be asking yourself questions like, am I capable? Can I do this? Will it work? Will it not work? And I think for me, something that I've been working on is reframing the language that I use. So rather than saying, this won't work, or what if it doesn't work, I'm asking myself, what if it works really well, and what will that look like? And what I'm finding is that by reframing that and looking at the positive outcomes that could potentially come as a result of that, I'm more driven and I'm more motivated. Of course, the feelings of things going wrong or doubts will always be there, but I find that they are more pushed to the side if I'm focusing on outcomes and possibility rather than things not being able to happen or thinking about things that may go wrong. So I think, challenging that internal language, and even as you approach exams, asking yourself, what if I pass? How will that make me feel? What does that look like? Really visualizing and encouraging and picturing the positives of things actually working well, rather than putting so much focus on doubts or negativity or things not working so well. So yeah, definitely say internal language is a big one for me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Miriam.
I think also for me, law of attraction within yourself. So, and also helping my friends with, like, if you want to try something. So my friends like fitness and they want to use different sit-up techniques, and I can't do that, but you can if you try. It's always like flipping it, like you said, Era, flip the thought. I can't go up the stairs. Yes, you can. So try and just give as much encouragement as you can. Like you said, Sammy, pat on the back for doing something. If you see something, give yourself a pat on the back. And it's like, if I struggle at something, it's okay. We all love a trier. Keep going and you'll find results. So that's how I find that, just keep going rather than giving up, and encourage other people to do it as well. That's what I'm challenging.
Brilliant. And finally, Hera.
Yes. So I've written a book on this. So this is a huge topic for me. I choose to challenge myself. I choose to challenge others respectfully. I choose to challenge the organization culture, and I choose to challenge the institution and the government at large. But of course, that's huge, and we obviously can begin with ourselves first. So if I talk about myself, I would choose to challenge my own biases, and I think it took me some time to sort of acknowledge that as a woman, and a woman of color at that, I myself do have biases, and sometimes those biases can be against other women too. Even though I'm in HR, I teach and practice empowerment, I talk about diversity and inclusion, and it's not easy to confess this. But yes, I think I choose to acknowledge the fact that sometimes I too can be biased, not just against people who are not like me, but people who are like me, but who just have different opinions. So that, and of course, yes, challenging my own limiting beliefs in terms of being able to step up more. And I do sometimes try, usually I don't. I think I'd like to believe I'm good at self-promotion, but I do tend to not ask for things because I fear hearing the word no. And I think I need to challenge myself and tell myself that, hearing no does not mean no forever. It could just be, it could convert into a yes a few months down the line. So I just have to be persistent. So that's what I choose to challenge.
Fantastic. So we've got, I think we've got about 4 minutes left of this session. So again, schools, I don't know if you have any questions. Hopefully you can hear us all, but obviously do type them into the chat window. So I know you guys have all spoken about your careers, Star, you shared a little bit about your dyslexia. And I always like to kind of get everyone to think about the creative aspects of themselves. So I'm going to ask you about, when you were 14, 13, what kind of books were you reading, and kind of what advice would you have given your younger self? So a combination question. So what were you reading, but also what advice would you give yourself at that age, at 13 or 14? So again, I'm kind of like just leaving it open to everybody.
All right, I'll take it. I'll go first. Go for it. Okay, so 13, 14, I didn't really obviously like reading books. I couldn't concentrate due to what was going on, so I'd rather listen to lyrics and music. I'd rather watch movies. So I was really into Harry Potter, believe it or not. So even though I tried to read the hard books, I had them, but I preferred to watch all the movies. The advice I'd give is, my mum always used to give me advice like, be yourself. Like, you come in alone, you come in to stand out. And the advice she gave me, I would take it again and I'd fully refresh it and go again, rather than it was always like count your friends on one hand, or he's always like never judge a book by his cover. And I was like, no, I've got loads of this, I've got loads of that. And now I can count my friends on one hand. But don't judge a book, because if you do, you get it completely wrong. And it's like I would take her advice again and reapply it, and then go study again. I would just go relive it in a different
Star
way.
is saying, listen to your parents, they're right.
Yes, listen. That's what I say to you, listen. Because you get here and you're like, okay, there's responsibilities. Money does not grow on trees.
Okay, so we've actually only got a minute left, so I'm going to wrap up. But I just want to say thank you to all of you, Miriam, Star, Samantha, Hera, for sharing your stories with us today. I really appreciate you making the time to be here and to talk about, you know, your journeys. We're going to head back to the main room now, where we'll continue the event. But again, thank you, ladies, for coming in, giving us 45 minutes of your day, and I hope you enjoyed your time, and hopefully speak to you all soon. Bye.